के हम लोग न्यू चैप्टर. So I hope you already have started or you have completed with dual nature, क्योंकि dual nature का थोड़ा बहुत concept हम लोगों को यहाँ पे लगता है. So this is the chapter number 15 from your textbook, which is structure of atoms and nuclei. Okay. Now, even though it is chapter from your textbook, if you look at the content which we have over here, okay, we have lots and lots of contents over here. So if you keep an eye out for the contents which I am currently showing all of you, most of the contents, they are from the topic which is related to this structure of nucleus or structure of atom. Generically speaking, this particular concept or this particular part in physics is referred to as modern physics. You might have studied some of it in chemistry as well. Yes, Sujal, as he correctly said, you might have studied this in chemistry as well. But still, there are some aspects which we are going to cover, which might not be covered in your syllabus, as in your textbook, but they are present in your NEET or JEE syllabus for that matter. So we are going to cover each and every aspect which you are able to see over here, starting from alpha particle scattering experiment. Let it be Rutherford or Bohr's model. What is the energy level, hydrogen spectrum, the size of nucleus, composition of nucleus, ये isobar isotone, radioactivity, law of radioactivity, nuclear fission, binding energy, everything we are going to cover. So before we move forward with the actual scattering of experiment, the very first basic concept about any atom, it was given by a scientist named J.J. Thomson. So I'm guessing you're familiar with that. You already studied this in your lower standard. So this is more or less like a quick recap of what we have studied till this particular point. So this is J.J. Thomson's atomic model. So he was a person, he was a scientist who first gave the idea about the structure of atom. Okay, जो सबसे पहले एटम का कंसेप्ट आया, द स्मॉलेस्ट पार्टिकल, जो अभी खैर है नहीं एप्लीकेबल, बट द स्मॉलेस्ट पार्टिकल ऑफ एनी मैटर, जिसको हम लोग बोलते थे एटम, तो वो कैसा हो सकता है? ऑब्वियसली नन ऑफ at that time nobody had seen it, but they gave some different ideas regarding the structure. So this was the structure which was given by J.J. Thomson. Okay, it looks something like this. तो उसका structure था, it was around 100-200 years back. Okay, तो अभी उसमें what Thomson's atomic model basically focused on. Okay, उसका ये first point है. So what he said, atom है, how it looks like a solid sphere. Okay, so what is the shape of an atom? It's a spherical, it's a solid sphere, right? Like a ball bearing or something like that. And what he said, that it is of positive charge. तो entire sphere है, the charge of that particular sphere, it is positive. उसको mass है obviously, तो mass कैसा है उसका? Mass is distributed uniformly, सब जगह पे common होगा, मतलब थोड़ा यहाँ पे ज्यादा थोड़ा यहाँ पे कम हो गया, बलून जैसा ऐसा नहीं है, it's uniformly distributed. And there are electrons, as you can see in this particular diagram, the electrons, they are embedded. Embedded means what? They are put in, they are inserted inside that spherical shape, right? जैसा watermelon में seeds होता है, वैसा वो electrons वो sphere के अंदर fix किया हुआ है. और electrons का charge कौन सा है? Negative charge. So this was the first, this was the structure J.J. Thomson gave. ये हम लोगों को ऐसा दिखता है. This is also called as a cookie model, chocolate chip cookie model. तुम लोगों ने खाया होगा शायद chocolate chip cookies, you know, biscuits होता है, उसके ऊपर chocolate chips होता है, तो उसको imagine करो spherical shape में है, right? और chocolate chip का आइसक्रीम है, तो sphere होगा आइसक्रीम, उसमें से chip, chocolate chip बाहर निकल रहा है. That is how he envisioned the atomic model might look like. So, what are the advantages of that particular model? The most important advantage was some important concepts like ionization hoga, thermonic emission hoga, photoelectric emission as in photoelectric effect hoga. All these concepts, all these phenomena were easily explained by this particular model. But problem kahan pe aaya? Problem आया when it came to the scattering of alpha particles. So when the alpha particles, क्या है कैसा है, we are going to see that the scattering of alpha particles and by extension the spectrum or the spectral lines which are formed, they cannot be explained by this particular structure. So this was a very basic model, but still up to certain extent, for a starting point, this was very important in order to give certain push to other scientists in order to go for in little bit detailed in order to understand the structural integrity or structural model. So now when it comes to the alpha particles, what happened in case of alpha particles? What was that particular experiment which was carried out which led to the failure of this particular model? That particular structure or that particular experiment is what we are going to see. उसको बोलते हैं अल्फा स्कैटरिंग एक्सपेरिमेंट. इट लुक समथिंग लाइक दिस. ये उसका एक्सपेरिमेंटल सेटअप है और ये हम लोगों को रिजल्ट मिलता है जो हम लोग देखेंगे बाद में. तो ये एक्सपेरिमेंटल सेटअप में क्या है? यू कैन सी इट्स अ वेरी बेसिक सेटअप पर से. You have a source of alpha particle which comes out of a very small narrow window or small opening. It passes through lots and lots of different instruments. इतना यहाँ पे हम लोगों को दिखाया है नहीं. It passes through different instruments and it ultimately enters or it passes through a gold foil. ये भी तुम लोगों ने lower standard में किया हुआ है. ये Rutherford's gold foil experiment और ऐसा कुछ तो भी तुम लोगों ने किया होगा. So actually this experiment was not actually as in physically carried out by Rutherford. It was designed by Rutherford. तो actual carry out किसने किया था? ये दो बंदे थे, Geiger and Marsden. These were two people, or these were the two research fellows at that time who saw that particular concept. With the help of Rutherford, they designed this particular experiment and they carried out this experiment. Okay. Now, what happened in this particular experiment? This was the result which they actually saw in case of a gold foil. तो क्या हुआ? यहाँ से अल्फा पार्टिकल्स जो है, अल्फा पार्टिकल्स they emitted, they pass through different lenses, they pass through different instrument like a collimator यहाँ पे दिया है. It's like a scope, you know, it's like a telescope जैसा device है, through which it passes through this particular gold foil. And when it passes through this particular gold foil, obviously it's going to pass through different atoms of that particular gold foil, and some results were observed. What are those results which were observed? Those are given over here. अभी वो क्या थे observation? This was the first observation. You can easily correlate that with the diagram which we have over here. Most of the alpha particles, they passed straight away, undeflected, as it is given. मतलब they did not change its direction. बहुत सारे alpha particles जो थे, उन्होंने direction change नहीं किया, वो pass through हो गए. Okay, और change भी किया होगा तो वो भी बहुत छोटे angle से change किया. You can see over here, most of the alpha particles, they were not deflected that much. यहाँ पे भी तुम लोग देख सकते हो कि बहुत कम deflect हो रहा है. Otherwise, they are moving straight forward, right? Second point, they deflected, but they deflected with very small angle. जैसा मैंने यहाँ पे बोला, एक तो बहुत सारे डिफ्लेक्ट हुए बिना ही चले गए, मतलब दे पास्ड इन द स्ट्रेट लाइन ओनली. By chance, if they are getting deflected means getting changed in the directions. The deflection was through very small angles. Third point, very few of them. Very few मतलब कितना? 1 in 1,000. So it's almost negligible. They deflected in 90 degree. Okay, or more than 90 degree for that matter. मतलब कौन से एंगल्स है हम लोगों के पास? Some very few rays, some very few alpha particles for that matter, they deflected in more than 90. मतलब ये देखो, ये डिफ्लेक्शन है यहाँ पे, दिस इज मोर देन 90 डिग्री. ये और एक डिफ्लेक्शन है जो मोर देन 90 है, बट ऐसे बहुत कम है, 1 in 1,000. Next, what was the observation? Very few alpha particles, even fewer than that. अभी यहाँ पे तुम लोगों का नंबर दिया नहीं है, बट 1 in 1 lakh अल्फा पार्टिकल्स दे रिटर्न बैक. मतलब जैसे जा रहे वैसे ही वापस आ रहे, लाइक दिस. तो बहुत ज्यादा अल्फा पार्टिकल्स दे वेंट विदाउट डिफ्लेक्शन, एंड बहुत 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 कम, वेरी फ्यू, 1 लाख में से एक, it returned back, it reflected back the same way through 180 degree. So these were the observations which were carried out by these particular experiment. अब ये observations का हुआ क्या? The observations were utilized by scientist Rutherford in order to give the proper structure about that particular atom. Okay, और वो structure क्या है? We are going to get to that in detail. There are another some observations which are still over here. Okay, ये सबसे बेसिक है जिससे हम लोगों को इन्फ्रेंस करना है बाद में जाके. और क्या उन्होंने ऑब्जर्व किया था कि टोटल नंबर ऑफ पार्टिकल्स विच आर स्कैटर्ड, उनको बोलेंगे हम लोग n. So those number of particles which were scattered have a relation. The relation was given like this, that they are inversely proportional to the sine raised to 4 of theta by 2. अब ये थीटा को नहीं, यहाँ पे देखो ये थीटा है, दिस इज द एंगल ऑफ डिफ्लेक्शन. अभी इसका कुछ डेरिवेशन है क्या? ऑब्वियसली देयर इज अ डेरिवेशन, बट since it is out of our syllabus, it is out of our purview, we are not going to details of that right now. So simply ये याद रखो that how number of deflections or number of scattered particles, how they are related to the angle of deflection. So सिर्फ ये याद रखो. And obviously if you go in detail, you can see this particular graph will explain it to you. As the angle it goes on increasing, यहाँ पे देखो, this is the graph of number of scattered particles versus theta. So as the angle theta goes on increasing, the number of scattered particles they go on decreasing. मतलब क्या? जब थीटा 0 है तो नंबर बहुत ज्यादा है, मतलब क्या? The first point, most of the alpha particles they are undeflected. अज्यूम करो यहाँ पे है हम लोगों का थीटा which is 90, यहाँ पे 90 है. So you can see very few which have more than 90, and if we consider this particular point, यहाँ पे है 180, तो number is very less. So very few they returned back. Okay, so now again, before moving forward, any doubts till this point? Yes or no बोलो रे. Okay, good. Let's move forward then. Again, I'm going to keep this diagram just for your reference over here. Sixth point. Now, sixth point क्या बोलता है? Sixth point बोलता है that obviously the thickness of the foil, again it is not given over here, but ये जो gold foil use किया हुआ है, this gold foil obviously it is a foil. Foil मतलब कि एक छोटा सा sheet लिया था of gold. So that gold foil का जो thickness था, it was very 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 less. It was in some few microns. तो तुम लोग imagine कर सकते हो कितना पतला sheet होगा वो. So that thickness of the foil is also dependent or is also a factor for this n. So the relation between them, it is given. So if we assume that T is the thickness of the foil and n obviously just like before the number of particles which are scattered, obviously assuming that theta is constant, what they observed that the ratio of n by T was constant. मतलब क्या? They inferred that for any two different types of thickness, we can find out how many number of particles will be scattered. In mathematical formula, using a simple ratio that n1 upon n2 is equal to t1 upon t2. So in simple words, what we can say that n is directly proportional to the thickness. अगर thickness बढ़ेगा तो scattered particles will also increase, which quite of makes sense. Next point. Another concept which was put forth by this was distance of closest approach in terms of nuclear dimensions, right? अभी ये distance of closest approach होता क्या है? Okay, this is the definition which we have. Now the distance of closest approach, it is the minimum distance from the nucleus. It is the minimum distance from the nucleus जहां से अल्फा पार्टिकल आ रहा है, right? उसका सिंबल दिया हुआ है R0. To approach means to come from. So it is the minimum distance from which the alpha particle is coming, alpha particle is approaching. And at that particular point, now alpha particle has not started. So वहां पे that particle will have complete potential energy. And from there onwards, it gets converted into kinetic energy. And the relation, as in the formula for that, can be found out using a kinetic energy ka formula. So, what is the formula for kinetic energy? Half mv square. And at that particular distance, how much potential energy it will have? It is given by this particular formula. We are going to understand the variables what we have. It is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Ze into 2e upon r0. ये क्या है सब बताऊंगा मैं, don't worry. So after rearranging, for r0 we get the formula Ze square upon mv square pi epsilon naught. Or we can write this as 4kze square upon mv square. अभी ये z कौन है? Z basically are the number of charges which are present over there, okay, in the nucleus. E क्या है? E तो पता है, it is a charge on one particular electron. M is the mass and V is the velocity of approach. बाकी pi epsilon naught तो खैर तुम लोगों को पता है, so we are not going to details of that. Okay, so again, any doubts in this particular point? Again, we don't have to go into details of the derivations of all of them. Just try to remember and try to understand the formulae. बाकी हम लोगों को डेरिवेशन नहीं चाहिए, हम लोगों को सिर्फ ये फॉर्मूले याद रखने हैं. We should be able to apply it if by chance the question is asked on this particular point. Okay, good. So this was the seventh point or the seventh concept which was given. Moving forward, the eighth observation बोल सकते हैं हम लोग और eighth concept बोल सकते हैं. It was given as impact parameter, which was denoted by B. अभी impact parameter क्या है? It's basically a distance. To be precise, it's a perpendicular distance. Perpendicular distance क्या? कौन सा perpendicular distance? कहाँ का perpendicular distance? From which the alpha particle can actually give some impact on that particular nucleus. Okay, so whenever alpha particle it actually hits, or whenever the alpha particle is incident on that particular atom, it's going to create some impact on that. So it is the perpendicular distance in terms of velocity vector from the center of nucleus when the alpha particle is far away from that. So it is the region in which the impact will be created. And what is the formula for that? The formula is given like this: B is equal to Z square cot theta by 2 upon 4 pi epsilon naught half mv square. What is the most important point which needs to be focused over here? That B as an impact parameter is dependent on theta, the scattering angle we can say. So this particular theta, how it is related? Directly proportional. So obviously as the theta changes, value of impact parameter is also going to be changed. So next diagram है, यहाँ पे तुम लोगों को impact parameter पता चलेगा properly. So if we focus on this particular diagram, the value of B, if it is large, मतलब impact parameter is बहुत ज़्यादा है, then what happens? Alpha particle go undeviated, as you can see over here. ये distance अगर ज़्यादा है, तो alpha particle क्या है? वो दूर से ही चला जाएगा, उसका direction change नहीं होगा, right? But अगर ये distance बहुत कम है, assume करो alpha particle यहाँ से किधर तो भी आ रहा है, means what's going to happen? Is going to hit almost at the center of nucleus ना, मतलब क्या होगा? Scattering उसका 180 डिग्री में होगा, so the scattering will be comparatively very high. इसलिए उसको बोलते हैं impact parameter कि impact कैसा होगा. अगर impact parameter बहुत ज्यादा है, मतलब distance between, in simple words, alpha particle and nucleus is comparatively higher, तो impact क्या हो रहा है? That it's going undeviated. And if the impact parameter is less, मतलब क्या? Alpha particle और nucleus के बीच में distance comparatively कम है, तो क्या होगा? That the scattering will be very high. ठीक है? Clear? Moving forward from that particular point, जैसे मैंने तुम लोगों को बोला that there are 4 initial observations which are going to be very important for us, and based on which the Rutherford's model can be explained very well. That is the part which we are going to see. So Rutherford's atomic model. So this is the diagram which is not the model per se, but gives you certain idea about this particular model. So what it says, based on that particular alpha particle scattering experiment, based on the observations, there were certain conclusions which were later developed into the model. The first conclusion, what it says, that the mass of that particular atom, or any atom for that matter, कितना होना चाहिए? मोस्ट ऑफ द मास and most of the charge is concentrated in a very small part. Most of the mass मतलब कितना? Almost 99.95% जो mass है और जो charge है एटम का, it is concentrated in very small region, जिसको हम लोगों को वो पता है अभी, that we call it as a nucleus. Okay. Second point, what he observed कि what is the charge of the nucleus? Charge है उसका positive. Again, this is what we know, but imagine this was 100 years back, 100 years back, 1910 or 1912. So this was 100 years back, that the charge of nucleus is positive. The size was given as 10 raised to minus 15. You can imagine this is even smaller than pico. If you have heard, nano के नीचे होता है pico और pico के नीचे होता है जिसको हम लोग बोलते हैं फेम्टो, और फर्मी लेवल जिसको बोलते हैं एफ. तो वो बहुत बहुत छोटा है, 10 raised to minus 15 मीटर. और उसमें से न्यूक्लियस कितना है? न्यूक्लियस occupies only this much volume, 10 raised to minus 12 of the total volume, or even less than that. मतलब क्या? In simple words, कि एटम में न्यूक्लियस जो है वो बहुत बहुत कम जगह लेता है. तो बाकी जगह है क्या? एक्चुअली कुछ नहीं है. that there are maximum empty space. मतलब एटम है, उसके अंदर सिर्फ एक न्यूक्लियस है छोटू सा, और बाकी जगह क्या है? कुछ नहीं है, खाली है, खाली पड़ा हुआ है पूरा का पूरा. और क्या है उसमें? इलेक्ट्रॉन्स है which revolve around the nucleus in a specific orbit. Right? What is the analogy he used? Analogy of revolution of planets along with the sun. It's not entirely same क्योंकि वहां पे ऑर्बिट एलिप्टिकल होता है, यहाँ पे सर्कुलर होता है, बट मोर और लेस सेम. सन बीच में है, बाकी प्लैनेट्स घूमते हैं. सिमिलरली यहाँ पे न्यूक्लियस बीच में है, बाकी इलेक्ट्रॉन्स दे आर रिवॉल्विंग अराउंड इट, and in between them there is nothing. There are empty spaces, a lot and lot of empty space. So whenever any reaction it takes place, or whenever any type of emission it takes place, तो emission किसका होता है? emission होता है negatively charged electrons का, and not the positively charged particles. तो पॉजिटिवली चार्ज पार्टिकल्स कहां पे होते हैं? न्यूक्लियस में होते हैं. उसके बाहर नेगेटिवली चार्ज इलेक्ट्रॉन्स है. सो पॉजिटिवली चार्ज पार्टिकल्स आर नॉट एमिटेड, but negatively charged particles, which are electrons, they are emitted. Now why does this happen? Also, we also know the reason for that. One of the reason is because of the large mass of nucleus, the force of attraction between them is comparatively higher, right? So the binding force, which we call it as, वो बहुत ज्यादा होता है. That's why negatively charged particles comparatively easily break out हो सकते हैं, but positively charged particles, they cannot get out of that particular nucleus because of the very strong force of attraction. We call it as electrostatic force of attraction. Okay. So this was generalized model or generalized concept of Rutherford's atomic model. So obviously it was the first concised model including everything which was given at that time. Once again, it was 110 years back. Even with this, there was certain limitation to Rutherford's atomic model. अभी उसने सब तो explain किया था. There was still some parts which were not explained by Rutherford's atomic model. And the major part which was not explained in Rutherford's atomic model was stability of an atom. So stability of an atom, which was not explained properly in case of Rutherford's atomic model. अभी वो कैसा explain नहीं किया था? That is the part which is given in the next part. ठीक है? Now, Abhi, what was the concept? We also know that particular concept ki, yeah, यहाँ पे है हम लोग के पास न्यूक्लियस, ये देखो, और ये पूरा का पूरा एटम है। अज्यूम करो अगर ये ऑर्बिट हुआ तो यहां पे एक इलेक्ट्रॉन होगा, अज्यूम करो। So we know that electrons, they have a tendency to move in a specific orbit in any direction. Let's assume that this is the direction in which that particular electron is moving. So what happens when that particular electron is moving? Okay. Now, in case of the motion, what is observed, that electrons, they have a tendency to absorb and at the same time emit radiation. अगेन ये हम लोगों को पता है कि इलेक्ट्रॉन्स एनर्जी एब्सॉर्ब करते रहते हैं हमेशा, एट द सेम टाइम वो हमेशा एनर्जी रेडिएट भी करते रहते हैं। ओके, सो उससे क्या होगा? सो व्हेन द इलेक्ट्रॉन इज मूविंग इन अ सर्कुलर पाथ, वो एनर्जी रेडिएट करेगा। अगर वो एनर्जी रेडिएट करेगा मतलब क्या होगा? एनर्जी जब वो एब्सॉर्ब करता है, व्हेन इलेक्ट्रॉन एब्सॉर्ब्स एनर्जी, तो क्या होता है? वो एक्साइट होता है, इसलिए वो बाहर के ऑर्बिट में चला जाता है। बट व्हेन इट रेडिएट्स एनर्जी, तब क्या होना चाहिए? वो अंदर के ऑर्बिट में जाना चाहिए। तो अज्यूम करो यहां पे आ जाएगा, वो वापस अगर एनर्जी रेडिएट करेगा तो क्या होगा? वो वापस अंदर जाएगा एंड देयर विल कम अ पॉइंट व्हेन इट्स गोइंग टू फॉल ऑन द न्यूक्लियस, जैसा यहां पे दिया है। सो व्हेन इलेक्ट्रॉन इट गोज ऑन रेडिएटिंग एनर्जी, वो ऐसा गोल 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 घूम के कभी तो भी ऐसा होना चाहिए कि वो अपने न्यूक्लियस पे जाके गिर जाएगा, क्योंकि एनीवे दे आर ऑपोजिटली चार्ज, तो अट्रैक्शन वैसे भी होता है वहां पे। बट इन रियलिटी डज दिस एवर हैपन? नो। Electrons, even though they are radiating energy, they are comparatively stable unless and until we apply some energy externally in order to get it excited. तो इलेक्ट्रॉन कभी भी न्यूक्लियस पे जाके बाउंड और न्यूक्लियस पे जाके फॉल नहीं होता। So how, if the energy has been radiated, how atom remains stable? That is the part which was not explained by Rutherford's model. कि ऐसा होता कैसे? एनर्जी तो रेडिएट हो रहा है बट वो अंदर नहीं जा रहा, ऐसा कैसा? सो दैट इज द पार्ट वाज नॉट एक्सप्लेन्ड। ओके, सेकंड पार्ट, इट कम्स टू द पार्ट ऑफ अ स्पेक्ट्रम। ओके, जो हम लोगों ने अभी तक किया नहीं है, वी आर गोइंग टू डू दैट एज वेल। हाइड्रोजन स्पेक्ट्रम हम लोग एक करने वाले। सो व्हाट हैपेंस दैट द स्पेक्ट्रम व्हिच वाज ऑब्जर्व्ड, अभी वो स्पेक्ट्रम किसका है? यही रेडिएटेड एनर्जी का ही स्पेक्ट्रम होता है वो। सो व्हेन द स्पेक्ट्रम ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर एटम इज ऑब्जर्व्ड, ये मॉडल क्या बोलता है कि द स्पेक्ट्रम इज कंटिन्यूअस, मतलब लाइक अ बैंड। बट ऐसा होता नहीं है एक्चुअली, इट इज मेड अप ऑफ लाइंस, डिफरेंट डिफरेंट स्पेक्ट्रल लाइंस बोलते हैं उसको। सो द एनर्जी स्पेक्ट्रम ऑफ एन एटम वाज आल्सो नॉट एक्सप्लेन्ड बाय रुदरफोर्ड। And third, the major part, the distribution of electrons, मतलब एक ऑर्बिट का कैपेसिटी which we know कि KLMN ऑर्बिट्स होता है, K में 2 होगा, फिर 8 होगा, फिर 18 होगा, so on and so forth. बट ये आया किधर से? What is the capacity of one particular orbit? वो कैसे पता चलेगा? तो K में 2 ही इलेक्ट्रॉन क्यों होते हैं, 3 क्यों नहीं आते? नेक्स्ट ऑर्बिट में 8 ही इलेक्ट्रॉन्स क्यों होते हैं? 8 इलेक्ट्रॉन होने के बाद वो इलेक्ट्रॉन मतलब द लेवल भर जाता है, राइट? वी कॉल इट एज अ ऑक्टेट रूल। सो ये कैपेसिटी, द डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन्स वाज नॉट आल्सो एक्सप्लेन्ड बाय रुदरफोर्ड्स मॉडल। व्हाट रुदरफोर्ड सेड, इतने इलेक्ट्रॉन्स होते हैं, बट व्हाई, दैट वाज नॉट एक्सप्लेन्ड बाय दिस। ओके, सो these limitations, which were comparatively major limitations, that's why Rutherford's atomic model was not carried forward as the ideal model. But still, it was a comparatively good start in order to have some extra effort. And those extra efforts were, or rather, these particular failures or these particular problems were rectified in the next atomic model, which is widely accepted all over world even today, and that is the atomic model which we are going to study, जिसको हम लोग बोलते हैं Bohr's atomic model. It was given by Rutherford. It was given by Niels Bohr by applying some quantum physics terminologies and modifying the Rutherford's model. Okay. Major issue क्या था Rutherford का? Stability and energy distribution. जो problem था, that particular problem was rectified by Niels Bohr. Okay. So, any problem this till this particular point? बोलो yes or no. अगर वो समझा है, उसका प्रॉब्लम समझा है, तो ये समझना तुम लोगों को मुश्किल नहीं होगा. Why I invested comparatively large amount of time on drawback? क्योंकि प्रॉब्लम जब तक समझता नहीं, without that we won't be able to understand what is the solution. तो पहले 3 प्रॉब्लम थे जो यहाँ पे रेक्टिफाई हो जाएंगे अभी. Okay, good. So now let's understand what are Bohr's atomic model. Now सबसे पहले तो keeping in mind that the concept which was applied in Bohr's atomic model are based on some terminologies from quantum physics, okay, which comparatively differs from the classical physics which we have. अब classical physics क्या बोलता है? That if the electrons are in a stable orbit, they should not emit any type of radiation, right? ये कौन बोलता है? Maxwell's electromagnetic theory. You might have studied that as well. This is the part of classical physics. So, for having understanding that they are emitting the electromagnetic waves, even though they should not, to understand that or to justify that, Bohr he proposed a model. He started with hydrogen atom, which because hydrogen atom is comparatively easier, ना छोटा सा होता है, उसको analyze करना easy होता है, इसलिए he started with hydrogen atom, which was obviously extrapolated to some lighter atoms, and he assumed or he gave some hypothesis, जिसको बोलते हैं postulates. Okay, postulates मतलब क्या? Assumptions बोल सकते हैं और hypothesis बोल सकते हैं. That those particular postulates were given by Niels Bohr. That was the first. This was the first postulate which was given, that they revolve around nucleus in a stable orbit without any radiation which is being emitted. That is the first postulate. Second postulate, the radius of that particular orbit. The radius of that particular orbit of that particular electron can change with some fixed values only, right? अभी वो values कौन सा होगा? That is the part which is given over here. Okay, so those number of orbits or the number of the orbit can change, and the radius of the orbit can change in terms of a specific fixed values which are dependent on the angular momentum of the electron, and they are the multiples of h upon 2 pi. अभी h क्या है? h तो Planck's constant है. I hope you know that. Okay. So अभी angular momentum क्या होता है? Again I am hoping you know that. Momentum पता है तो angular momentum भी शायद तुम लोगों ने किया होगा. That it's mv into r. So angular momentum generally denoted by L, which is given as mvr, which is given as the multiples of this particular factor h upon 2 pi. So ये n बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है हम लोगों के लिए, जो हम लोग बहुत बार यूज करने वाले. ये n कौन है? n is the number of orbit. तो नंबर ऑफ ऑर्बिट कहां से? 0 से तो स्टार्ट होगा नहीं ऑब्वियसली, सो इट स्टार्ट्स विद 1. सो n is the number of orbit. तो n1 है मतलब first orbit, n is 2 means second orbit, n is 3 means third orbit, so on and so forth. Okay, so when we consider that the angular momentum is mvrn, which is equal to n h upon 2 pi, rn is what? Is the radius of nth orbit, and v is the corresponding velocity of the rotation of that particular electron in nth orbit. So we are going to see formula for both of them, don't worry about that. तो ये जो radius है, that particular radius is dependent on this particular factor h upon 2 pi, and at the same time on these two factors, the velocity of rotation or revolution बोल सकते हैं हम लोग, नहीं, and mass. Third point, it comes about the transition of electrons. मतलब when electron goes from one orbit to another orbit, वो कैसे जाता है और क्या होता है in that particular case. So when electron it goes from one orbit to another orbit, assume करेंगे शुरू में that it goes to the lower orbit, right, or lower energy orbit. तो क्या होगा? Energy will be released, right, energy will be radiated. वो radiate कौन से form में होगी? It is radiated in the form of a photon, and it will be equal to the difference in the energies of two orbits. Once again, when the electron it goes from higher orbit to lower orbit, higher orbit मतलब high energy, lower orbit मतलब low energy, तो क्या हो रहा है? रेडिएशन एमिट हो रहा है, एनर्जी रेडिएट हो रहा है. वो कितना होगा? इन दोनों में जितना डिफरेंस होगा, हायर माइनस लोअर, उतना एनर्जी इन द फॉर्म ऑफ फोटोन विल बी रिलीज्ड. सो that is the third postulate, and we know electron radiate कब करता है? When it goes from one orbit to another orbit. So if we assume that electron jumps from higher orbit, okay, जिसका एनर्जी assume करो कितना है? E2, to lower orbit कितना है? E1. higher orbit मतलब क्या? high energy, so E2 is higher. lower orbit मतलब low energy, so E1 is lower. So how much energy will be emitted? E2 minus E1. And what will be the form of that particular energy which is radiated? It will be in the form of photon. Okay, so अदर वे राउंड, उल्टा भी जा सकता है ना, लोअर टू हायर भी जा सकता है. तो लोअर टू हायर में क्या होगा? वो एब्सॉर्ब करेगा. अगर उल्टा गया E1 से E2 में, मतलब if it goes from lower orbit to higher orbit, it's going to absorb the amount of energy. और एनर्जी एब्सॉर्ब कितना करेगा? सेम ही करेगा जितना डिफरेंस होगा. तो रेडिएट करते टाइम भी सेम करेगा E2 माइनस E1, एब्सॉर्ब करते टाइम ही उतना ही एनर्जी उसको एब्सॉर्ब करना पड़ेगा इफ इट वांट्स टू गो टू अ हायर ऑर्बिट. ओके, क्लियर? एनी डाउट्स टिल दिस पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट? बोलो यस और नो. ओके, शुभम इज आस्किंग मी समथिंग. अरे किधर गया वो? शुभम किसके बारे में पूछ रहा था रे तू? इसके बारे में? ये वाला? हाँ करेक्ट है, वो करने वाले हैं हम लोग. डेलिबरेटली मैंने यहाँ पे यूज नहीं किया क्योंकि हम लोग आगे एक छोटा सा डेरिवेशन देखने वाले हैं, इसलिए मैंने यहाँ पे वो मेंशन नहीं किया. बट यस, यू आर करेक्ट. Okay, good. So this was the third postulate. Now, even with all the explanation and even with all the concept, there are certain drawbacks to Bohr's atomic model as well. As we have mentioned, what he started off with, hydrogen atom. So the very first drawback is that it is applicable only for those with one electron in its orbit. Right? They are also called as one electron atoms. For example, I'm hoping you know these terms, at least. H, matlab hydrogen, helium, lithium, sodium, potassium, so on and so forth. अभी ऐसा क्यों है? क्योंकि hydrogen spectrum, something which we are going to see later on, it was only able to explain the hydrogen spectrum only. बाकी का जो line spectra था, other than hydrogen, were not explained. Okay. Even in case of hydrogen spectrum, now we know the detailed hydrogen spectrum, but according to Bohr's atomic model, some of the details or some of the multiple components, multiple spectra which were emitted in this particular case, they were not explained by this particular model. जो अभी हम लोग करने वाले, we call it as the series of hydrogen spectrum. But उस time वो using this particular model, he could not explain that. Okay. Secondly, हम लोग क्या assume करते कि orbit है circular, but in reality they are not perfectly circular, but they are elliptical. To be precise, they are not even perfectly elliptical, but again, for the sake of understanding, they are not perfectly circular, but they are elliptical. Okay. So there was no theoretical basis for the assumption that the orbits are circular. Okay, they were assumed in order to have the condition of stability, right? Circular क्यों assume किया था? In order to explain the stability of an atom. But वो तो circular होते नहीं है, वो elliptical होते हैं, partially elliptical to be precise. So there was no theoretical basis which was given for this particular assumption कि क्यों भाई circular assume किया. तीसरा था इंटेंसिटी ऑफ स्पेक्ट्रल लाइन. इंटेंसिटी मतलब क्या? ब्राइटनेस. स्पेक्ट्रल लाइंस क्या होता है? जो रेडिएशन एनर्जी जो रेडिएट होता है वो होता है फोटोन के इसमें से. मतलब क्या? वो लाइट है ना. तो लाइट का तुम लोगों को स्पेक्ट्रम दिखेगा, मतलब क्या मिलता है? कलर्स मिलता है तुम लोगों को. तो उसका इंटेंसिटी रहेगा ना कुछ, तो भी ब्राइटनेस रहेगा. तो ब्राइटनेस फ्लक्चुएट होता है. अभी वो ब्राइटनेस फ्लक्चुएट क्यों होता है वो भी एक्सप्लेन नहीं किया था. इंटेंसिटी ऑफ दो स्पेक्ट्रल लाइंस, they were not explained. So the intensities of those lines, they're different for line to line, and the Bohr's model could not explain the difference in intensity. क्यों? क्योंकि energy intensity different हो रहा है, मतलब क्या? There is some change in the energy which is radiated. तो वो change in the energy radiated was not explained by this atomic model. Okay. Another drawback was nucleus. अभी न्यूक्लियस कंसिडर किया था कि न्यूक्लियस is stationary, but nucleus is not stationary. It rotates around its own axis. Like Earth rotate होता है, या planets that rotate around themselves. Similarly, nucleus also rotates around itself. So that was not explained in Bohr's atomic model. In case of spectrums which were generated during that particular spectral lines, they were not explained properly by Bohr's atomic model. Again, it was related to intensity of the spectral lines, but again, the structures, they were not explained properly. Okay. Two major effects, right? They are called as Zeeman effect and the Stark effect. Zeeman effect means what? Splitting up of spectral lines in a magnetic field, and Stark effect is splitting up in electric field. Obviously, the energy which is emitted, because of which we get a spectral line, it is in the form of electromagnetic radiation. So they get affected by electric and magnetic fields. They do have their names, Stark effect and Zeeman effect. We are not going to details of them right now. but that particular effect of the fields on that emitted radiation, by extension the spectrum or the spectral lines, was not explained. Okay, and lastly, it is not able to explain the doublets in the spectrum. Doublets matlab kya? The spectrum gets doubled. Okay, ये स्पेक्ट्रम जब हम लोग देखेंगे तब तुम लोगों को पता चलेगा स्पेक्ट्रम मतलब क्या, एक सिंगल बैंड मिलना चाहिए, but the doublets in the spectrum or the what we can say, the ideally एक सिंगल लाइन फॉर्म होना चाहिए, बट दो लाइंस फॉर्म हो रहा है. ओके, सो एक ही कलर का दो लाइन फॉर्म हो रहा है, अज्यूम करो. सो ये जो डबलेट और डबलिंग पार्ट हो रहा था इन एटम्स लाइक सोडियम, स्पेशली कंपैरेटिवली सोडियम में होता है, पोटेशियम में भी होता है. सो ये क्यों हुआ? That was the part which was not explained in Bohr's atomic model. Okay, so these were certain disadvantages, बोल सकते हैं, certain drawbacks, or certain parts which were left unexplained in Bohr's atomic model. Okay, but still, even after all these drawbacks, for a generic purpose, for the major chunk of the part, we are going to follow for the time being Bohr's atomic model in order to understand and in order to have our analysis of particular concepts. Okay, chalo, so far any doubts? Bolo yes or no. Sixth point. Okay, sixth point once again. अगर ये नाम कंफ्यूज हो रहे तुम लोगों को तो ये नाम को छोड़ दो, ये अपने को नहीं याद रखा तो भी चलेगा. बेसिकली क्या होता है, सबसे पहले तो अपन फोकस करते हैं ये लाइन स्पेक्ट्रा. लाइन स्पेक्ट्रा मतलब क्या? सी, जब भी इलेक्ट्रॉन एनर्जी एमिट करता है, इट इज इन द फॉर्म ऑफ अ फोटोन. मतलब क्या? इट इज इन द फॉर्म ऑफ लाइट. तो लाइट का जब हम लोग एनालिसिस करते हैं तो हम लोगों को क्या मिलता है? एक स्पेक्ट्रम मिलता है, उसको हम लोग बोलते हैं स्पेक्ट्रा और स्पेक्ट्रल लाइंस. अभी ये जो स्पेक्ट्रल लाइंस है अल्टीमेटली क्या है? दे आर लाइट ना. मतलब क्या है? दे आर ऑफ द फॉर्म ऑफ इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक वेव्स. तो ये इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक वेव्स अगर हम लोगों ने रखा मैग्नेटिक फील्ड में तो उसका कुछ तो भी प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा ना. मतलब क्या होता है? ये स्प्लिट हो जाती है. सिमिलरली इफ वी कीप दो स्पेक्ट्रल लाइंस इन इलेक्ट्रिक फील्ड तो क्या होता है? अगेन दे गो एंड स्प्लिट अप. सो दिस पर्टिकुलर इफेक्ट वाज नॉट एक्सप्लेन्ड इन केस ऑफ बोर्स एटॉमिक मॉडल. ठीक है सुजल? ठीक है. ओके, मूविंग फॉरवर्ड. एक काम करते रहे, एक 6-7 मिनट बचे हैं तो एंड में करने से अच्छा एक अभी एक बार रिजॉइन करते रहे. चलो, see a very important formula from this particular chapter which is related to Bohr's orbit. Okay, so this gives you lots of different things about the orbits which we refer to as the Bohr's orbit. सबसे first we have the radius of the orbit or radii for different orbits. So this we already have discussed previously before we went for the drawbacks in the postulates. What we have seen now from second postulate. From second postulate, what do we have? This is the formula which we have seen, that mvr is equal to nh upon 2 pi. Now here, when we consider orbit, orbits will be of electrons. That's why if you see here we have me. Me is what? Mass of an electron. इसको हम लोग बोलते हैं इक्वेशन नंबर 1. Vn will be the velocity in that particular orbit. कौन सा orbit होगा? nth orbit. Keeping in mind that orbit is stable. Rn is the radius of that particular orbit, nth orbit once again. And this complete MVR is given as angular momentum, denoted with capital L. And the most important terminology which we have already discussed this. N is called as the number of orbit, or it has another name. इसको बोलते हैं principal quantum number of that particular electron. And obviously, since it's a number, it's always a positive integer. Okay, ये terminology याद रखो, हम लोग बहुत बार आगे यूज करने वाले हैं. ठीक है. Now, using this particular formula, we are going to find out, using this particular equation rather, we are going to find out a formula for Rn, which is radius of the orbit. So, now assuming, अभी यहाँ पे डायग्राम नहीं है तो मैं बनाने की कोशिश करता हूँ. Assume करो ये एक छोटू सा ऑब्वियसली ऑर्बिट नहीं है, ये है न्यूक्लियस. एंड उसके बाजू में ये एक ऑर्बिट है जिसके अंदर एक इलेक्ट्रॉन घूम रहा है. एक इलेक्ट्रॉन किया हम लोगों ने अज्यूम, बिकॉज हाइड्रोजन एटम कंसिडर कर रहे हैं. अज्यूम करो तो ये इलेक्ट्रॉन है, ऐसे डायरेक्शन में घूम रहा है वो. ओके. So when the electron it is moving in circular or maybe elliptical orbit, the most important force which is acting on this particular electron, that particular force is what we call as a centripetal force. I am hoping you're familiar with this concept. Okay. So there is a centripetal force which acts on that particular electron. अभी वो centripetal force क्यों act हो रहा है? Because of the electrostatic force of attraction between the electron and nucleus. क्यों? क्योंकि nucleus होता है positively charged and electron होता है negatively charged, इसलिए उनके बीच में है force of attraction which will be equal to the centripetal force which is acting on that particular electron. Okay. Now assume करते हैं that the atomic number, मतलब क्या, the number of electrons is Z. यहाँ पे हम लोगों ने 1 assume किया है, but generically speaking assume करो कि उसका नंबर है Z. तो टोटल चार्ज कितना होगा उस पे? Z into E. Any doubts till this particular point? बोलो yes or no. अगर इस पे प्रॉब्लम है तो मैं आगे नहीं जाऊंगा. यहाँ पे कोई प्रॉब्लम है? हाँ, तुम लोगों के एक प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है कि मैं यहाँ पे बोल रहा हूँ टोटल पॉजिटिव चार्ज एंड इक्वेशन में मैं ले रहा हूं E, मतलब इलेक्ट्रॉन. ऐसा कैसा? क्योंकि इट इज बेस्ड ऑन द नंबर ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन्स ना, विच इज इक्वल टू नंबर ऑफ प्रोटॉन्स ओनली. तो जितना इलेक्ट्रॉन का चार्ज, मतलब जितना टोटल चार्ज पॉजिटिव होगा उतना ही नेगेटिव होगा. तो Ze will be positive charge, the same will be negative charge. ये हम लोगों को पता है. Okay, that's why I'm not explaining. Okay, good. तो ये याद रखो. क्या है हम लोगों के पास? हम लोगों के पास है Z, which is the atomic number. टोटल चार्ज कितना है? Ze. पॉजिटिव हो या नेगेटिव हो, दोनों सेम ही रहेगा. सो अगर अगेन बैकिंग अप अ लिटिल बिट, ये हम सब लोग इसमें इक्वेशन में नंबर 1 में डालेंगे तो हम लोगों को मिलता है mv square upon r is equal to Ze square upon 4 pi epsilon naught Rn square. So here epsilon naught, I'm guessing you know, but still x इसको बोलते हैं हम लोग इक्वेशन नंबर 2. epsilon naught क्या है? permeability of vacuum. I'm hoping you know that. E क्या है? charge on one particular electron. ये जो E है वो, you know, it is charge on one electron. So from equation 1 and equation 2, if we cancel out Vn, okay, once again I'm backing up a little bit. ये था हम लोगों का equation 1, ये है हम लोगों का equation 2. So if we eliminate Vn from both, we get this particular equation. MEN square h square upon 4 pi square me square Rn cube, which is equal to Ze square upon 4 pi epsilon naught Rn square. And when we'll rearrange this particular term, we get a formula for Rn, and this is what we call it as equation 3. इसमें से once again I'll explain you all the terminologies which are present in Rn. Once again, Rn is radius of nth orbit, n principal quantum number or number of orbit, h is the Planck's constant, epsilon naught permeability of vacuum, pi खैर pi है, me mass of one electron, z atomic number, e charge on electron. Okay, any doubts till this particular point? Okay, good. So this equation number 3, one of the very important equations from this particular chapter, this Rn, the radius of orbit, which was also called as Bohr's orbit. Now similarly, जैसा हम लोगों ने Rn find out किया है, we can find out Vn as well. So this is first equation, first very important equation which we need to remember. So based on this particular equation, okay, I do have that equation over here as well for our reference. We can find out some inferences. Okay, सबसे पहले तो how radius, हम लोगों के पास दो important parameters है. This is the radius of the orbit and this is principal quantum number, मतलब number of orbit, जिस पे हम लोगों को focus करना है. So radius of orbit is proportional to the square of the number of orbit. मतलब n क्या है, कौन सा ऑर्बिट है? अगर n का वैल्यू 1 रहेगा तो फर्स्ट ऑर्बिट, n का वैल्यू 10 रहेगा तो 10th ऑर्बिट. So what can we say? As the number of orbit changes, the radius is also changes. How? Directly proportional. As the number of orbit increases, the radius also increases, which is quite obvious. If we consider first orbit and 10th orbit, obviously the radius of 10th orbit will be higher. खैर 10th orbit होता ही नहीं है, but still. Now in case of hydrogen atom, for hydrogen atom, Z मतलब atomic number 1 है. Okay, so if we substitute all the values, see except यहाँ पे n, बाकी सब constant है. H तो Planck's constant है, epsilon naught permeability of vacuum constant है, pi constant है, me mass of electron constant है, z variable है, पर यहाँ पे for hydrogen atom z भी constant है, charge on one electron it's also constant. तो अगर ये सब लोग वैल्यू हम लोग अगर सब्स्टिट्यूट करेंगे for n which is equal to 1, मतलब फर्स्ट ऑर्बिट के लिए हाइड्रोजन एटम है इसलिए, तो क्या मिलता है हम लोगों को? R1 का वैल्यू हम लोगों को मिलेगा 0.053 नैनोमीटर. और ये जो फर्स्ट ऑर्बिट है उसको बोलते हैं बोर्स ऑर्बिट, और द रेडियस इज कॉल्ड एज बोर रेडियस. So the Bohr radius is denoted by a naught as the remaining part, h square epsilon naught pi me upon h square epsilon naught upon pi me e square. So this particular formula of radius, this particular formula for Rn can be modified in terms of Bohr orbit. वो कैसे लिख सकते हैं हम लोग अभी? So for the smallest orbit, we can write Rn is equal to A0 into n square, and this is what we have A0. और यहाँ पे अगर हम लोगों को दिखाना चाहिए तो ये जो पार्ट है एन स्क्वायर को छोड़ के ये पूरा का पूरा पार्ट है A0, so that is A0 into n square. और A0 का एक्चुअल वैल्यू है कितना? A0 का वैल्यू ये है 0.053. सो इसको हम लोग आगे जाके ऐसे भी मॉडिफाई कर सकते हैं दैट Rn is equal to 0.053 into n square. ओके, एंड ये जो इक्वेशन है, this is what we call as equation number 4. Now from equation 1 and 2 अगर हम लोगों ने Rn को एलिमिनेट किया तो हम लोगों को मिलता है फॉर्मूला Vn के लिए, which we call it as equation number 5. And this is another important formula which we have, that Vn, it gives you the velocity of that particular orbit. Okay, now again if you focus on this particular formula, z अगर कांस्टेंट होगा तो ये n को छोड़ के बाकी सब कांस्टेंट होता है. Okay, we are going to see that in detail, so we don't have to worry about that. So let's have a quick recap about all these terminologies. So when we consider Bohr's orbit, यहाँ पे डायग्राम दिखाया मैंने तुम लोगों को, ये देखो ये है अपना velocity in that particular orbit, and here we have the radius of that particular orbit, assuming that it is first orbit. So in case of a radius of that particular orbit, we have already found out the relation from these two equations. हम लोगों को relation मिलता है from first and second. This is the relation which we get. We have already established that. Okay, और इसको हम लोग simplify करके ये relation तक हम लोग पहुंचे थे. Okay, so sorry, after that what we assumed कि Z, मतलब हाइड्रोजन के लिए हम लोगों ने assume किया था कि बाकी सब कांस्टेंट है, बट अगर Z और N हम लोग चेंज नहीं कर रहे तो हम लोगों को क्या मिलेगा? इन टर्म्स ऑफ N एंड Z वी कैन राइट इट एज, ये होगा हम लोगों का A0 जो हम लोगों ने पहले लिया था, and the two parameters on which it will be dependent is one, atomic number, and second, the number of orbit. Okay, so how it is related? It is related directly proportional to n square and inversely proportional to the atomic number. Similarly, if we consider the speed or velocity of an electron, the speed of electron can be calculated using this particular formula जो हम लोगों ने अभी देखा था. Okay, और इसको modify करके the final formula जहां पे हम लोग गए थे, this was the formula Z square upon 2 epsilon naught n into h. Now separating out Z and n, the remaining E square upon 2 epsilon naught h can be written in terms of speed of light as c upon 137, and c मतलब speed of light which is 3 into 10 raised to 8, उसको substitute अगर हम लोग करेंगे तो we get 2.2 into 10 raised to 6 and z upon n. So these two, this is the first formula and this is second formula. One is for the radius and another is for velocity. Any doubts in this? Bolo yes or no?
No doubt.
तो ये दोनों फॉर्मूले याद रखो। यहाँ पे तुम लोग ये शॉर्ट वर्जन भी याद रख सकते हो। Vn इज इक्वल टू 2.2 इंटू 10⁻⁶ Z अपॉन n। तो कोई भी z रहने दो, कोई भी n रहने दो, डायरेक्टली हम लोग Vn का वैल्यू फाइंड आउट कर सकते हैं। सिमिलरली वी कैन राइट Rn इज इक्वल टू 0.53 n स्क्वायर अपॉन Z। सो कोई भी n का वैल्यू मिला, z का वैल्यू दिया, वी कैन डायरेक्टली फाइंड आउट द रेडियस ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर ऑर्बिट फॉर दैट पर्टिकुलर atomic number. Now, apart from that, there are certain quantities, certain other quantities as well. But again, just like I told you, we're not going to details of that. We are just going to focus on the formulae. You have the table over here. I'll keep it over for 30 seconds. You can go through that. You can have all the different quantities and their dependence on n and z. So these two columns, they're going to be very important, especially this last one. Generally, you might get the questions which are based on the comparison itself. मतलब लेट्स अज्यूम करो टाइम पीरियड का क्वेश्चन आया, तो एक टाइम पीरियड का फर्स्ट ऑर्बिट इज सो एंड सो, तो टाइम पीरियड ऑफ थर्ड ऑर्बिट क्या रहेगा? देन यू विल हैव टू यूज दिस समवेयर हियर एंड देयर इन द फॉर्म ऑफ रेशियो. ओके, अगर उन्होंने फ्रीक्वेंसी के लिए पूछा, अगेन यू कैन यूज द सेम. फ्रीक्वेंसी ऑफ फर्स्ट ऑर्बिट इज सो एंड सो, तो फ्रीक्वेंसी 10th ऑर्बिट में कितना होगा? तो तुम लोग ये फॉर्मूला यूज कर सकते हो इन द फॉर्म ऑफ रेशियो एंड प्रोपोर्शन. राइट, v1 upon v2 will be z1 upon z2, so on and so forth. So just go through this particular formula. Most of them are constants. The values, as you can see, most of the values, if we consider angular speed में pi constant है, m constant है, e constant है, epsilon not constant है, h constant है, so बहुत सारे constants ही आते हैं. ठीक है? So just glance through this particular table and try to remember the formula. At least try to remember the relations which we have. Okay. Now based on this, एक छोटू सा न्यूमेरिकल है, वो क्विकली सॉल्व करते रहे. ठीक है, एकदम छोटू सा न्यूमेरिकल है. यू आर सपोज टू फाइंड आउट द रेडियस ऑफ थर्ड ऑर्बिट ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन. अभी हम लोगों ने जस्ट फॉर्मूला देखा था, तो तुम लोग फाइंड आउट कर सकते हो थर्ड ऑर्बिट का रेडियस. जल्दी से करो और बोलो मुझे आंसर. ये शुभम यूनिट भी बोल मुझे. शुभम एंड नीरज, एक मिनट मैं भी चेक कर. नहीं, थोड़ा पॉइंट का कुछ तो भी गड़बड़ हुआ है शायद. यस कल्याणी, नंबर्स करेक्ट है, पॉइंट्स चेक करो रे एक बार. बहुत सिंपल है, लेट्स चेक द सॉल्यूशन। जैसे मैंने बोला था, अपने पास फॉर्मूला है रेडियस ऑफ nth ऑर्बिट। क्या फॉर्मूला है? Rn इज इक्वल टू a0n²। ठीक है, अभी कौन सा ऑर्बिट बोल रहे वो? थर्ड ऑर्बिट, मतलब n का वैल्यू कितना आएगा? 3। तो n के जगह पे 3 सब्स्टिट्यूट करेंगे तो क्या मिलेगा हम लोगों को? 3 का स्क्वायर विच इज 9। और a0 मैंने तुम लोगों को बोला था, a0 मतलब क्या है? R1 है, जिसका वैल्यू है 0.053 नैनोमीटर। तो 9 इंटू 0.053 कितना आता है? इट इज 0.477 नैनोमीटर। तो इट्स नॉट 4.7, इट इज 0.477 नैनोमीटर। तो खैर नैनोमीटर ही रहेगा। ओके
Yes, sir.